At this point, I am going to mute everybody, but please, at any time during class, you may unmute yourself if you have any questions or comments, or put them in that chat box. Other props we might want around us today are pillows, blankets, cushions, blocks, yoga belts if we have them. And as this is a really big stretch for our back and our low back around the hips, especially first thing in the morning, it might take us a moment here for those muscles to start to relax and lengthen. So we might adjust our pose after a few deep breaths, and that's good and that's okay. That's what our yoga is designed to do, to be fluid and flexible for each and every one of us. Take time to loosen up the clothing. We can be in our wide knee child's pose. Those fingertips may be extended to the front corners of the yoga mat, especially through the point of the index finger, lengthening the side bodies. But we want the head to be grounded. So if the head is on the floor, that's great. If it's not, that's totally fine as well. We'll just stack our hands or a prop underneath the forehead so the head is supported. And even if our sit bones aren't touching our heels today, we can still feel that energy and direction of the sit bones draping down towards the ground, towards the heels. We'll start our practice with some centering, checking in with the physical body, feeling and observing and noticing the breath, and allowing our mind to settle down within the four corners of our mat this morning. So we'll each start taking this inventory throughout the body today. And I'm going to share another passage as we do this from the book Awakening the Spine by Vanda, Scarabelli. And as I read this passage, continue to release and relax as we come across any unnecessary tension or tightness we might find. The approach and attitude with regard to the body and the mind are absolutely different, and sometimes even opposite from the casual way in which it has been done until now. You have to learn how to listen to your body, going with it and not against it, avoiding all effort or strain, and centering your attention on that very delicate point, the back of the waist, where the spine moves in two opposite directions. You will be amazed to discover that if you are kind to your body, it will respond in an incredible way. So as we continue to mentally move through our body, feeling the opening through the chest, the shoulders, the stretch and release for the low back and hips, let's pause for a moment in that low back. The area behind the waist around lumbar 5, L4, L5. And feel that grounding sensation through the lower half of the body. And even though the upper half of the body is also in contact with the ground, feel it lengthening and stretching. Just as the roots of a tree sink deep into the ground, so that the trunk and the branches can grow upward with stability. Try to breathe some space into the spine, all the way up and down it. And then let's sit with this breath for a moment, watching the body breathe. We want to create space inside the body on the breath. Inhaling, feeling that natural expansion. And maintaining that openness as we exhale, we can sink into that space. Remembering that our breath is our guide and a bridge between the mind and the body. So we'll all cycle through one more round of breathing here. This next breath, we'll try to make our biggest breath of our morning yet. So as we breathe in through the nose, simply fill yourself up as much as you can. Create that space around the waist, the side bodies, even through the abdomen, the rib cage, the chest. And that next exhale is just as important. So we will take our time to exhale the breath back out. Maybe putting a little extra at the bottom of the exhale to empty the lungs, to let go of any unwanted stress or tension in the body still. And then let's take another breath in, and at this point we will float our head up. Re-extend the hands forward, and we'll bring the body up. Take your time, there's no hurry as we come out to release this pose. We will move our body right into our tabletop and receive some of the benefit of this pose by stretching the legs out. So spread the fingers wide, stack those hands underneath the shoulders, draw the low belly in. Stabilize the low back. And then let's give our right leg a nice big stretch behind us. So we'll straighten that leg straight back from the hip. The ball of the foot is to the floor. Feel as if you're trying to lift that kneecap, the thigh bone up towards the ceiling to really open up the eye of the knee. And we may shift our weight back through that heel to intensify the stretch. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, bring the right knee back down to the ground. Hips should remain steady and level. Give that left leg a big stretch back. Straighten the leg out, straight back from the hip. Ball the foot to the floor, equal weight in the hands. Already start to feel that grounding through the mount of the index finger and thumb. Feel as if you're trying to lift the knee and the thigh bone upwards, opening the eye of the knee. One more big deep breath in. Exhale, left knee comes down. Now remember, at any time when our wrists need to take a break, we may rise up in Hatha Vanda on our fingertips or make strong punching fists and press our knuckles into the ground. Continuing to open the back through the spine through some rounds of cat-cow here following the breath. So on the inhale, relax the belly, lift the tailbone, create that space all the way up, stretching the crown of the head up and gazing forward. On the exhale, draw that belly in, scoop the tailbone under. We'll now round the back. So this is a good stretch for those muscles that might be feeling a little tight today. Draw the chin towards the chest, bringing the drishti to the belly button. Find your rhythm, moving smoothly in and out of these poses. Add any other movement here, maybe a little side to side movement if we need that in the shoulders. We might be concentrating more on the shoulder girdle, melting the heart, poofing up the back of the heart, or maybe more movement in the pelvic region. Good. So we'll balance ourselves out. And then we'll meet back in our tabletop in a neutral position. So at this point, let's walk ourselves towards the back of the yoga mat. Let's have our toes tucked under. So we are going to start with a little bit of our low flow this morning to continue to help loosen things up. We'll walk our hands about 1 hand's distance forward, so our arms at more of an angle. We might need to adjust this here in a minute. Do draw in through that low belly. We want to keep the spine in neutral the whole time. On our inhale, let's glide forward, trying to hover our hips in a straight line between the knees and the shoulders into a kneeling plank position. Float your knees up from the floor to test your alignment. It should bring you right into a full plank position. On the exhale, drop the knees back down. We'll take our bow. So that means we're pulling the belly in, drawing the sit bones back. Keep your fingertips extended forward. Even lift your palms at this point, Hasta Bandha, to give your wrists a break. And just bow the head towards the ground. It probably won't touch. Inhaling, we glide forward into our kneeling plank. We have the option to hover those knees for a moment if we want to feel the power of a full plank. When we get to our exhale, knees down, take a bow, toes take under, so we'll still feel a stretch through the feet, head bows towards the ground. One more here. Inhaling, kneeling, or full plank. Be mindful of where the head is in space. Good. Exhale, take our bow. Now we're going to build on this. The next inhale, we come forward to kneeling plank. I would suggest staying on the knees. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. We'll bend our elbows straight back. Using the strength of the back of the upper arms, we're trying to slowly lower all the way down to the ground. We'll rest our belly to the floor, stretch our chin forward. Now flatten out the tops of those feet and open your feet nice and wide, wider than the hips if we're taking care of our low back today. Or you may zip up the feet and legs together. Bhujangasana, squeeze the muscles of the upper back. Draw your shoulder blades together, pull them down the back. Now keep the spine long. Continue to strengthen mid, low back. Even use your glutes to lift up into cobra. On the exhale, we come back down. We kiss our mat. Squeeze the elbows in. Tuck the toes and the tailbone under. Pulling our inner abs away from the ground. Inhale, straighten those arms. Pushing back up to kneeling plank. Exhale, draw the navel in. Take a bow. Pop those palms. If you want to give your wrists a stretch, this will also stretch out the back. Inhale, kneeling plank. We're going to keep going. As much control as possible. Now keep your head in line with the spine when you exhale to lower down. Chaturanga Dandasana. Chin forward. Adjust the feet accordingly. Nice strong back. Inhale, floats the heart, Bhujangasana. Lifting the hands up if you want a little bit more, or any variation of your cobra that feels good for you today. The exhale brings us all the way back down. Kiss the mat, tuck the toes in the tail, squeeze the elbows in, and inhale. Try to push back up through a kneeling plank. Good. Exhale, lead with the belly. So the belly draws in to shift the hips back. The head bows to the ground. Let's do one more. Just try to follow your own breath. So move through the poses. It's okay if we have to take an extra breath here or there. The goal is to eventually try to move one movement with an inhale or exhale. We'll catch up in our bow where we start to draw the hips back to the heels. If we need to slide the hands back and sit back all the way into a child's pose, you could even do this with the toes tucked under. It feels really good for my feet this morning to get this nice big stretch to the soles of the feet. Take a quick break. And then inhale, let's re-extend those hands forward. Float our hips up, tabletop. Hands walk slightly forward. Toes are definitely tucked under at this point. Pull that low belly in, press the ground away from you, and we'll float our hips up, back, and shift that weight down the backs of the legs. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. We will hold this pose again for a moment here, taking smooth, even breaths in and out through the nose. Some of us will immediately feel that big stretch up through the Achilles, the calves, all the way through the back side of the body. To intensify this stretch, pedal your heels, one heel at a time, bending the opposite knee, taking our dog for a walk. Hands should be as broad as the shoulders, rooting through the mound of the index fingers and thumbs, but there's external rotation in those upper arm bones. Roll them away from the ears. Engage your shoulders down the back. Keep space and length through the whole spine. Maybe spend a moment there behind the waist, around that L5 area, feeling the weight of the lower half of the body sinking to the ground. And even though the upper half of the body is also drawn towards the ground, feel that extension and the length through the spine.
At any time in our practice, when we need to take a break and check back in with our body, we may always drop back down towards the ground in a tabletop or child's pose. But let's hold our downward facing dog here for one more breath. Find some stillness. Try to sink the heels equally towards the floor. Bend those knees more deeply to help release that low back as needed. The inhale looks forward. We baby step our feet to our hands and our hands to our feet. And those of us that want to stay upside down in a deep forward fold Uttanasana, we may. Those of us that are modifying for any reason, bend the knees, placing the weight of the elbows or the hands on the thighs. You may even come up to a Tadasana and just work on your posture in mountain pose. Forward fold, people, you may try to release the arms, dropping the arm bones out of the shoulder sockets, giving your head a nice little rock side to side, front to back. Keep those feet anchored and strong. Keep the legs strong. Start feeling those lower bandhas activate. So Mula Bandha, our root lock in the pelvic floor, can lightly squeeze and lift up into the body. Uddiyana Bandha, lower abdominal lock below the navel, can pull in and up into the body. Today we'll take our time to come up. So we'll all bend our knees, placing our hands on our thighs, turn the fingertips in, draw the chin to the chest, use your strong legs and core, and inhale to come up. So we're rolling up the spine, articulating the spine. Keep breathing in and in. We've been upside down for a while. As we start to come up, the head's the last thing to come up. When we come upright, give your shoulders a purposeful little squeeze to the ears, tightening those muscles. Exhale, drop the shoulders back down away from the ears. Softly float the arms up beside the body into Tadasana. Remember, if you start to see stars, you get lightheaded, you bring yourself down to the ground and take a break till your blood pressure regulates. Starting in the foundation of the feet. Feet are about hips width apart. We're talking about the hip sockets. Lift up those toes, spread them nice and wide. Root through the mound of the big toe, inner heel. Simultaneously root the mound of the pinky toe and outer heel. Unlock those knees, shin bones slightly forward, thigh bones can move back. Pull front body to back body. Lengthen the upper buttock to the ground. Again, that space here behind the waist. We're anchoring towards the earth, and then we're going to feel this nice lift and lengthening all the way up the spine, through the shoulder blades to the crown of the head. No tension here in the face, the neck. Tadasana, mountain pose. Turn the palms out. Let's come back to that breath. Take a nice big breath in. Now reach out as wide as you can, all the way up to the ceiling. Big stretch, feet stay grounded. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale, pull the energy down through our center. Now we'll add the balance. So we want to fix our eyes on one spot. Find your drishti. Draw that big circle. You can reach the fingertips down, palms out. Inhale, lift up. This time the heels are going to come up. We're going to rise up, still keeping that lower half of our body anchoring towards the ground. And then exhale, slowly try to lower down. Take 2 more rounds of palm tree pose following the breath. We'll all catch up on our next exhale. Once we lower back down to the ground, take your time to get there. And then we're going to take a nice big stance. We might not need our yoga blocks for this. We're going to stay more upright today, but we will maybe need to turn ourselves to face the long edge of our yoga mat. Float the elbows out, fingertips together. And on our inhale, you can open your feet nice and wide into our neutral position. So if you need to adjust your space, your surroundings, go ahead and do so. Now we want to start with our feet fairly wide, with the ankles almost as wide at the crease of our wrists, and the feet parallel to each other. So the lateral edge of the feet will be running parallel to the short ends of our yoga mat.
Instead of using your upper back muscles to hold your arms up, try to let the neck be long. Instead, use those triceps and the side bodies, the lats here, to hold the arms up. Inhale, lift the right toes up at that thigh bone, open the thigh up, pointing the toes to the front of our yoga mat. Here, the hips and the heart are still staying open. On the exhale, we're gonna slide down an invisible wall by flexing the right knee and bringing the knee over the ankle. Now, when we look down, we should be able to see our big toe to the inside of the knee. I'm gonna step my right foot in several inches so that my knee's over my ankle. I'm turned inward significantly in my thigh, so I don't have much external rotation. We can also do more work from the outer knee to outer thigh to open it up. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2, equal weight in the feet. Shoulders should be stacked over hips. That spine should continue to remain long. If we have a lot of tension, tightness, or discomfort in the neck and shoulders today, simply bring your hands into Anjali Mudra in front of the heart center. Now we'll take our drishti over those right fingertips and pause for a moment. Just feel the posture. Come back to the breath. Now we'll add some movement. So take a breath in, straighten the right leg, and let your arms fall down in front of the body. Inhaling, pulling that breath deep into our lungs. On the exhale, we're gonna lunge back out to Warrior 2. We'll do this 2 more times. Inhale, we straighten the leg. Pull that breath into the body. Exhale, sink and lunge back out. Good, 1 more time. Inhaling, exhale, Virabhadrasana 2. Now we'll add another movement. Turn the palms up to the ceiling. This inhale is going to take us into a little bit of a back bend. Left arm down, it just floats to the outer thigh. Right arm up, reversing our warrior. The drishti can gaze upwards. We keep a lunge in the knee. Now on the exhale, pull in through that core, bend the right elbow. We exhale, right elbow to thigh, left arm. We try to stretch it over the ear, forming this long straight line down the whole left side of the body. Now this will take some effort. So on the inhale, pull the left arm back down, squeeze these muscles tight around the waist to float all the way back up. Exhale, still moving in this lateral plane, elbow to thigh. Top arm reaches over the ear. Utthita Parshva Konasana. 1 more round. Use your muscles, strong legs. Inhaling upwards. Exhale, extended side angle. We'll meet in a reverse warrior, so take 1 more inhale here. Arm up, drishti up. Exhale, come back to Warrior 2. So the arms will float parallel to the floor. Our gaze will move softly back over those front fingertips. Inhale, straightens the right leg. Exhale, relax those arms. Noodle them around. Shoulders can relax. Pick up those right toes. Turn them to step straight back forward. I adjusted my stance quite a bit, so I need to bring my foot back into alignment. Arch to arch, toes to toes. Pull those quads up, equal weight in the feet, 4 corners grounded in the feet, head floating on the shoulders. Fingertips to heart. Inhale, open the arms out nice and wide. Neck is still relaxed, strong underarm, side body. Lift those left toes up. We're opening at the thigh bone, pointing the left toes to the back of the mat. Shoulders over hips. We're going to slide down that invisible wall. Exhale, bend that left knee. Try to avoid leaning forward or backwards in the upper body. Keep the spine elongated. When we look down, we want to see that big toe. So we either do more work from outer knee to outer hip or adjust the stance. So some people say heel to instep, heel to heel. I'm actually heel to my big toe. That's how much I move my foot. Knee over ankle. Once we're in position, Virabhadrasana 2, adjust the drishti over the left fingertips, nice and soft. Feel the power of the pose. We can still be lifting up through our lower bandhas for support, so the pelvic floor can be lifting and engaged. Uddiyana Bandha below the navel center. Adding some fluid movement here with the breath. On the inhale, straighten the left leg. Let the arms fall down in front of the body. If they're crossing, maybe switch which hand is in front. Exhale, nice big lunge back out. Warrior two. Good, 2 more times. Inhale, straightens the leg. Arms come down, pulling that breath deep into the lungs. Exhale. 1 more. We'll meet back on our exhale, warrior two, palms up. This inhale brings the right arm down, left arm up, reverse warrior. Drishti can look upward, side body, a little bit of back bending. Now on the exhale, bend the left elbow, tighten up the waist, support it, elbow to thigh, right arm reaches over the ear, Utthita Parshva Konasana. Inhale, brings the right arm back down. Use your muscles, use your legs, press the ground away from you. Reverse your warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. Slow, controlled, mindful movement. Inhale pulls us up and back. 1 more time. We'll meet on the inhale and reverse warrior. Floating the back arm down, front arm up. Next exhale will bring us back to warrior two, arms parallel to the floor. Gaze over the fingertips. Inhale, straightens the left leg. Exhale, relax the arms, noodle them around, good. Turn your left toes forward. Inhale, reach it up. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale, hands to heart center. From here, pick up the heels. Use your heel sneeze coming on. We're gonna turn our toes out and our heels in. So toes out. Now when we angle our toes out, that means we really have to activate this outer thigh, so our kneecaps are working towards our toes. Take another inhale, turn your palms up, reach it up into our star pose. And this exhale, slide down that visible wall, draw your knees to your toes, pull the elbows out beside the shoulders. Feel the strength between the shoulder blades, low belly pulled in. Inhale, press out into a variation of Tarasana star pose. Exhale, glide down, strong back, strong legs. Good. Inhale, reach out. Exhale. 1 more. This next exhale, we're going to bring it down and try to hold it here, but don't hold the breath, so keep breathing. We'll do a little balance work here. Index finger touches thumb. Your elbows can be floating out in line with your shoulders. I kind of like to pull my back and down a little bit, just feels better for my back, as long as we stay connected here. Try to hover the right heel from the floor. The left heel, if you're modifying for ankles or knees, just modify. You can keep your heels grounded. Those of us that want to try it, we'll lift both heels up. We'll be trying to lower a little further down. Powerful pose. Now on this next inhale, we'll soften it. Reach up. You can stay up on your tippy toes or try to. Let the arms cross overhead. On the exhale, drop your heels to the ground. Same movement. We're in this wide kneed squat. But now we're going to let the upper half of the body be a lot more loose in the joints. Inhaling to come up. Exhale to come down. Let's flow through one more. A nice way to get the blood flowing, improve our circulation, and to loosen those joints. We'll meet on the inhale whenever you get there, reaching up to the ceiling. The palms will touch. We'll exhale, hands to the center of our heart. Now we'll inch those feet in a little bit more closely. So they'll still be slightly wider than the hips. Goodness, sneezing during balancing, that would be a challenge. Might have to work with that today. So we'll go into our balance, fix that drishti on one spot. We will shift our weight over into the right leg. Now this right leg, from the waist down are our roots. So feel that connection where the spine, the lower half of the body, anchors into the floor below us. And then from that waistline up, we grow nice and light and tall. We'll start to play with that balance by lifting and lowering the toes. Adding the arms and trying to find our soft hover this morning. And we can keep it really soft this morning if that's what we need to bring into our practice. A little bit more energizing. Spread the toes, flex the foot, spread the fingertips. Reaching back out all four directions, Tarasana, star pose. Taking chin mudra in the hands again if you like. And if you're in a safe space, you can try to blink your eyes and maybe let the eyes close, even if it brings you out of the pose. Really wonderful practice for our brain, improving all the benefits we get in our balancing, concentration, focus, memory. Good. You'll be a falling star, and that's okay. Take a deep breath in. I love it. You guys are challenging yourselves. On the exhale, we'll try to land as softly as possible. Just float the arms beside the body. Feet may be a little bit wider than normal Tadasana. Come back to a neutral position. Just observe and breathe. Turn the palms out. Inhale, big circle overhead. Palms touch. Exhale, come back to the center. Lean it to the left. Super strong from the waist down. Growing roots through the floor into the earth. Waist up, we should feel light. Lifting. Start to play with the balance on this side. And not surprised if one side feels different than the other. Arms can relax down, playing with a hover, little tightrope balancing. Staying soft today, adding a little bit more dimension, spreading toes, fingers. Now we're using our muscles to lift the leg a little higher, to extend our arms out, star pose. Chin mudra in the hands, our seal of wisdom or knowledge. A blink of the eyes, those of us that want to play with falling star pose. Just do so safely. Good. Big breath in. And on the exhale, just try to land as softly as we can. Keep the drishti. Focus the eyes on one spot. Try to keep your concentration. Neutral position. Equal weight in both feet. No tension in the face. Take a breath. Turn those palms out. Inhale, big stretch up. Create that space all the way up the spine. Drishti to thumbs if you want a little bit more extension. Palms touch. Exhale, hands to heart. All right, so from here, we'll make another transition. So if we rearranged ourselves, let's find ourselves back to the top of our yoga mats. Feet are now hips width apart, so just a few inches. Little measurement you can do, if you can get there, I can't quite get there today, is to bring your two fists together and place them between the balls of the feet, and that's a generic guideline. Let's float the arms back beside the body. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. Anchor the feet into the floor, unlock those knees, draw up through those lower bandhas or locks. Waistline down, grounding into the earth so that we can extend and create space up the spine through the crown of the head. Back to the breath, turn those palms out. Inhale, last chance to create as much length as we can. Utthita Tadasana, extended mountain, reach those fingertips up. On this exhale, micro bend the knees. Bring the arms back out wide. and down into your version of Uttanasana, swan diving back towards a forward fold. Some of us might stop halfway, and that's okay. Let's hold here for a moment, breathing, giving that back another big stretch. Next inhale, hands to shins or higher. Lift the chest by squeezing the back, halfway lift. This exhale bends the knees, plants the hands, and we'll all take a big step back today into plank position. Shoulders over wrists, body nice and strong and straight like a 2x4 or a plank. You may drop down to your knees. You may hold there. You may take it back to down dog or child's pose if you just need to rest, or take a vinyasa. Exhaling down through Chaturanga Dandasana. Those upper arm bones should graze the rib cage. Chin is forward, point the toes, adjust the feet accordingly for your back. Inhale, squeeze the muscles of the back all the way into the glutes to lift the heart, Bhujangasana, Cobra pose. Exhale brings us all the way back down to the ground. We tuck the toes and tailbone under, strong engagement of the abdominal muscles. Inhale, pushing back up to kneeling or full plank. Exhale, meeting in a resting pose. So that can be downward facing dog, tabletop, or child's pose. Wherever we are, stay with the breath, in and out through the nose. My down dog people, on our next inhale, let's lift our heels up as high as we can, forming that crease across the toes. On the exhale, we'll drop to our knees. We can try to keep the knees together for this version of child's pose. Flatten out the tops of the feet. Draw the hips back and down. Slide the hands back to the feet if it's available. Hands may stack under the forehead. Draping our upper body over that lower body and feeling that big opening, especially in the low back. Hands under the shoulders, tuck the chin. Inhale, round it up, one vertebra at a time. Once the head lifts up, sit up tall. We'll shift our weight over to either hip and bring our feet forward. So we're going to come into a couple seated postures today. So we'll want some props to help assist with that. One will be a little lift underneath the sit bones. You may be able to sit flat to the floor, keeping your spine in a neutral position. I certainly can't, so I'm going to take my meditation cushion under my sit bones. Now, those of us that are lifting up a little bit more will want an additional support to support the extended knee. We'll start with Baddha Konasana first, so you might need like 2 yoga blocks or 2 folded blankets to support the knees. Then we'll go either into Janu Shashasana or Trianga Mukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana. I'll guide us there, don't worry. So Baddha Konasana first, bound angle first. Finding our sit bones. Bringing the 3 points of the feet together. So I often refer to the 4 points of the feet, but anatomically we have 3 points on our feet. Mound of the big toes, mound of the pinky toes, and then the centers of the heels trying to come together. So this is where we might want additional support underneath these outer thigh bones to help support the knees. Move any flesh out of the way so that we do feel our sit bones strongly connected to the ground. If you feel that your spine is getting pulled out of alignment, we need to sit up higher, and that's okay. You will just take more support underneath the thighs. And then you try to connect those 3 points, but simultaneously pull your toes away from each other, so you're letting your toes flare back open. Hands may come beside the hips to support the spine, so we might be more erect and tall in this posture. Breathing here. If we're able to maintain that length and space in the spine, hands may move onto the feet or ankles. The degree in which the heels pull towards the pubic bone will depend on our posture. So we have to maintain the posture in the spine first and the openness through the hips. And then we will focus our mind on the breath. That breath may guide us into a forward fold on the exhale. Those of you that are going to be moving the body forward, try to get that movement here and the pelvis moving forward without rounding the spine so the heart moves forward. Fingertips may also walk forward. And if you're getting to that stage of the posture, you may also place another prop in front of you for the forehead to maybe eventually touch. And some of you out there might actually bring the head all the way to the ground. But remember, it's not what we look like on the outside, it's what's happening on the inside. One more breath here. Let your inhale or a couple breaths start to bring you back up out of the pose. Those of you that have walked forward, walk your fingertips back in, restack the spine one vertebra at a time. Good. Float those shoulders over the hips, ears over the shoulders, sit up tall. Take the hands to those outer thighs, open the feet wider than hips. Hands come back beside those hips, give your knees a little rock. Excuse me, side to side. So next pose will either be Janu Shashasana or Triangamukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana. So the first one, the sole of the foot comes towards the inner thigh and the knee opens outward. So you'll continue with the shape of an opening hip, one leg extended forward. The other one involves a lot of internal rotation. So my hips are really happy when I'm internally rotated. They're not so happy when I try to externally rotate. So I probably need to do more of this, but I'm having some knee stuff and I want to try to get a nice compression for the knees, which when we release the pose brings the benefit to the knee joint. If you have, it depends on what's going on with your knees. If you have consistent issues, I know some of you do, the three-limbed facing one leg pose is the Triangamukha Ekapada one, probably isn't for you. So I know that this pose can help my knees, but if you already have some discomfort there, you'll probably want to go with Janu Shashasana. Okay, so that's where we will be working, and I'll guide us through both of those. You might already know where you're going to fall. My Janu Shashasana people, we all want to start sit bones rooted. Again, you might want to bring in some extra support with yoga blocks or folded towels or blankets. And we'll want to start by stepping the right foot in. Either way, if you're going into Janu Shashasana or the Triangamukha, you still want to bring your right foot in. Those of us that are lifted higher up, our extended leg, this is where we might need the extra towel or blanket to support this knee so it's not hyperextending to the ground. And this foot's going to be very active the whole time, toes pointing towards the shin bones. Those of us moving to Janu Shashasana, you'll allow your left knee to open with support, drawing the sole of the foot. If the leg is a little higher up, the sole of the foot won't touch the thigh, but it might touch the edge of your blanket or towel underneath you. The heel can move towards the pelvic floor. Your heart and shoulders stay extended towards that leg. You'll keep the length of your spine. There's no rounding in the spine here. You may stay sitting up very tall, getting the stretch up the back of the right leg. I'm on the opposite side. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm supposed to be mirroring you. Our right foot is in and out. This might look a little bit better. So getting the stretch up the back, our right foot's in, the left leg, Oh my goodness. So keep yourself squared. You may inch yourself forward here. So at first, the drishti is to the left toes, the left big toe. And as the breath takes you a little further into it, you might bring your drishti to the knee or draw the body down towards that leg further. But it's going to be important to keep that length up the front of the spine as well. If you'd like to try the Trianga Mukha, from here, you need to lean a little bit over to the left. You take your hand to that calf muscle and you kind of roll it out of the way. So drawing the foot back behind you. Now we want our right foot to be tucked in nice and tight. I'm elevated. I'm sitting up a few inches off the floor. That heel should be nice and snug towards that hip as much as possible. And I should be able to bring myself back up on my sit bones equally. If you bring yourself into this position and you notice you're really pulled out of alignment here in the hips, let it go. Go back to Janu Shashasana with the hip opening. We also would like our toes to be in as straight of a line as possible with this heel and the tops of the toes all touching the ground. That's one of the bigger challenges of this pose. Our foot wants to roll inward and the lateral edge or pinky edge of the foot wants to peel away from the floor. So we're trying to flatten out the whole top of the foot. The knee should be able to point forward. A lot of internal rotation here. Left leg actively working for all of us, regardless of which variation we chose today. Same thing. We might have our fingertips beside our hips, sitting up tall throughout this whole series, breathing here. Or we might be able to create a little movement here at the hips, walking our fingertips forward. Same thing, drishti to that big toe, maybe eventually towards the knee. If you're walking your fingertips forward, flare your elbows out, let the heart lead. Continue to strongly pull in through the low belly to protect the back. Good. Now we'll just pause and breathe into the pose. One more breath. Next inhale, take your time, float the head up. If you've moved forward, walk your fingertips back in. Restack the vertebra one at a time. Create that length up the back to the crown of the head. If you're in Janu Shashasana, you can float your right knee up and stretch your right leg out. If you're in Trianga Mukha, lean over to your side. Carefully float the knee up so the foot comes out and stretch the leg out. Add support underneath the knees if needed. Sit up tall in Tadasana. Activate all the toes, pulling them to your shin bones, including the pinky toes. Draw that low belly in. Lower half of the body is anchored into the ground. Upper half of the body is lifting. No tension in the face, the neck. Take one more breath here in neutral. Now we'll do the other side. If I got you totally confused because I confused myself, just do your opposite side. If you did your right side, we'll step our left foot in this time. We'll all start here. Activate the right leg. Pull the toes to your shin bone. Anchor the sit bones equally. Sit up tall. Janu Shashasana, people, you'll let your knee fall open. You'll take support underneath that knee as needed. You'll guide the sole of the foot either towards the inside of your prop or the inner thigh. Heel may draw on towards the pubic bone as long as you can maintain posture and no tension in the knee. Hands beside the hips to create length, staying here, or following your breath more forward into the forward fold. Trianga Mukha, people, we take our hand behind that calf. We try to roll it outward. We lean over to the right so that we can bring our foot around to the outside of the hip. Then we bring our sit bones back down. They need to be equally weighted. We can look down, draw that heel snug to the outer hip. We're not sitting on the heel. The heel should just, inner heel grazing the outer hip. Try to get the whole top of the foot grounded, including the top of the pinky toe, which can be a challenge. Some of you will notice you have a heel that's turned in more profoundly than the other side. That's very common in our feet and ankles. Once we're here, the knee points forward. We still align our heart and shoulders, either choosing to keep our hands beside our hips to help that spine sit up tall, or we can bring the drishti to the big toe extended in front of us and walking the fingertips forward. So we'll all be getting a stretch up the back of the extended leg and either more of a hip opener or a compression around the knee joint. Now we will simply be and breathe in our pose. Let's take one more breath on this side. The next inhale, if we've moved forward, we'll float the head up. Take your time to walk the fingertips back, bringing the spine back up, vertebra by vertebra, floating the head over the shoulders, shoulders over the hips. Janu Shashasana, just float the knee up, stretch the leg out. If the foot is tucked behind us, lean to one side, knee up, foot out. We'll all meet back in staff pose, Tadasana. Equal weight in the sit bones, legs very active, lower abdominals pulled in, hands beside the hips, even if you're up on your fingertips, elbows draw in, create that space and length up the spine to the crown of the head. Now try to hold this, reach the arms out, palms up. Inhale, try to reach up. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale, hands to Anjali Mudra at the heart center. Continue to lift the heart into the hands, pressing the hands towards each other, drawing those shoulder blades down and back, low bellies in, super strong legs and feet. This is a little bit more challenging version of Dandasana. We do not have the use of the hands helping to prop us up here. If this causes any discomfort in the body, we should feel strengthening, not straining. Then you can go back to the first version. One more breath. And relax. So relaxed is a little rounding of the back. Let's step our feet in. We're going to make a transition now towards the ground. I do want to leave us time at the end of our practice today for those of us that want to come up to do some pranayama, mantra, and meditation work. But we'll all at this point transition. So we'll do a little bit more movement for our spine on our backs today. So I want to sit towards the middle of our mat. You may come to one side and walk yourself safely down onto the back. If we want to do a little bit more strengthening to get there, soles of the feet to the floor, knees are open wide, fingertips reach forward, strong belly pulls in, and we try to slowly roll down through the back, the sacrum, that sweet spot of the lumbar, up the mid-back, the shoulders, the back of the head. The neck should be arching up away from the ground. Once we get here, we'll all take our arms overhead, straighten the legs out, and come into our long body stretch. Point and flex the feet a couple times. Let the waist grow long, the space between the rib cage. Exhale, let's float our arms down, draw the shoulder blades under, step the feet in, and then draw the knees in towards the body. And massage here, a little rock side to side for those muscles. So we'll take a spinal twist at this point. We want to try to keep the knees together, the feet parallel to each other. Reach the arms out from the shoulders like airplane wings. On the exhale, lower the knees over to the right hand side. Add a prop underneath the thigh bone if they don't easily touch. Right hand rests on that top thigh to deepen the twist. Left shoulder sinks back down into the ground. Head turns to the left. And then close the eyes at this point, feeling the weight of the body sink into the ground. Imagine taking a washcloth and wringing it out. As we wring out any lingering tension, stress in our mind or our body. Use the breath, exhale it away. One more breath on this side. Our next inhale will bring the head and the knees back up to center. Some of us might feel like we need to do a little scooch in the low back before we approach the other side. Knees in, feet parallel. The exhale lowers the knees to the left. Add props for support. Left hand to that top thigh to deepen the twist. Then allow the right shoulder to sink back down to the ground. Head may turn to the right. Slow the breathing down as we come to the end of our practice. Relax the face, the throat, the shoulders. One more breath on this side. The inhale will float the head and the knees back to neutral. Realign the head with the spine. And then if we feel like we need to take one last movement before we go into final relaxation, you might just continue to draw knees to chest to stretch out the back. Maybe give those legs a stretch up to the ceiling into waterfall pose. Maybe a happy baby sounds good right now for the hips. So just take a moment if we need to do one last little movement. And then we will move into our final relaxation, which can be Shavasana, flat to the floor, adding props, pillows under legs, back, or the back of the head. So as we start to move into our final relaxation, we want to take the time to get as comfortable as possible. Then we are putting some effort to move into this pose. Excuse me. So we want to try to find symmetry in our body, adjusting the shoulders, the arms, the back, and the legs accordingly, depending on where we're moving into. Loosen the clothing, adjust the surroundings so that the body can be open and relaxed. Palms facing up to the ceiling and the fingertips curled up naturally. Find the very back center of the skull. Poof the cheeks with air, stick out the tongue, whatever we need to do to relax the mouth, tongue, and jaw.
Let the eyes sink into the sockets. Unfurl the brow. Relax the eyebrow center. Feel the weight of the arms. Hands are relaxed. Fingertips. Feel the weight of the legs. Relaxing all the way from the hips to the knees. Knees to the ankles. The feet are completely relaxed. All of the toes. Relax all the way down the back, vertebra by vertebra, around the waist. Relax the belly completely. All of the abdominal muscles and the internal organs. Relax the whole body. Soften and relax the inside of the body. The breath becomes easy, quiet, and calm. And if the mind wanders, we gently bring it back to this breath, giving ourselves permission to relax, to let go, and to simply be and breathe. So you may choose at this point to stay right where you are, relaxing, softly breathing. Or you may start to breathe some life into the body, taking any movements here to wake the body back up. Remembering to pause and Supta Balasana on one side for a moment, drawing the knees to the chest, allowing the right arm to become beside the head and rolling onto that side, cradling the head on the arm. Those of us coming up to a seat, take your time. Try to keep the eyes soft. You might need to open them up if we're going to
prop ourselves up on a prop or reorient ourselves in space, which is fine. We want to move ourselves to a comfortable seat, finding the sit bones, taking any position in the legs, Sukhasana, easy cross, Siddhasana, heel to heel. If you practice Padmasana or Ardha Padmasana, you may use those positions as well. Float the head on top of the shoulders, sit up very tall through the spine to the crown of the head, taking Chin Mudra in the hands, index finger to thumb, resting our hands on our knees this morning, palms up or palms down, whatever feels most natural for you. And we're going to practice some yogic breathing this morning. This is our abdominal breath, our diaphragmic breath. We want to keep the breath as smooth and even as possible in and out through the nose. And our focus and concentration is at the navel center. On the inhale, the abdomen relaxes and expands like a balloon. On our exhale, we purposely draw the navel in towards the spine, gently contracting the abdominal muscles. Inhale, breathing relaxes the abdomen, it expands. This allows our diaphragm to drop down, pulling that breath deep into the lungs. On the exhale, we pull the belly inward, navel to spine. This pushes the diaphragm up, helping to push out all that stale old air and energy from the body. The face should be very relaxed. Feel the weight of the shoulders falling from the ears, the weight of the elbows and backs of the hands on the knees. We may mentally count the breath to add that Samavriti pranayama. When we get to the inhale, we simply mentally count the number that we're breathing to inflate and expand the abdomen. And when we get to the exhale, we mentally count the same number as we draw the belly inward. The whole time we keep the mind concentrated on the rhythm of this breath and on the navel center. Over time, we may be able to expand and lengthen the breath. So you may add 1 or 2 counts to both the inhale and the exhale, trying to keep them equal in length. Take 2 more rounds at your own rhythm and pace. And we want to finish our pranayama practice on an exhale. So whenever you get to that next exhale, exhale completely, even a little bit more, putting a little bit more effort into it. Once the air is completely out of the body, gently release any control or effort of the breath. It'll wander away wherever it wants to go. Notice the posture. So now we'll move into a few rounds of our mantra. If you'd like to join along at home, you will. You can continue to chant the mantra or eventually let it fall away and mentally repeat it over and over again. We will then sit for a few moments, and I'll use the singing bowl to bring us back out. The mantra this morning is Om Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu, which means may all people in the universe be happy. Om Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu. 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 If you are in a supine position in final relaxation, gently start to bring the body back to life. Small natural movements. Remember to pause in Supta Balasana, sleeping baby on one side for a moment. Those of us in our seated position, just be very aware of the posture. Readjust the length of the spine as needed, the position of the head over the shoulders. Feeling that connection with the lower half of the body and the ground, and then the upper half of the body skyward through the crown of the head. And then from here, being very mindful of our surroundings, let's finish our practice with just a couple more breaths together. Extend those arms out beside the body, palms up. We'll take another nice deep breath in through the nose to float those arms all the way up to the ceiling and gathering up everything we need for the rest of our day. Turn the palms back out, big exhale out, floating the fingertips all the way back down to the ground and letting go of all that other junk we don't need today. And again, inhale, reaching those arms up. This time, bring the palms to touch. Exhale the hands to the heart center. Humbly bow the head down to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and anyone else that made it possible for us to practice our yoga together today. Feel free in joining me in the Om Shanti mantra if you like, taking a deep breath in through the nose to begin. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om, Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari